Hello and welcome to Calm is a Skill. My name is Jocelyn Birkhimer, and I am so excited to be here with you today and share with you about the nervous system. The nervous system in a way that you can learn some tools for everyday stress. Why the nervous system, though? I want you to know that calm isn't something that you're missing. It might be something that your nervous system hasn't been taught, doesn't have access to, or hasn't been accustomed to yet. Today, I want to show you how to build calm as a skill that you can practice so you can stay connected to yourself even when life doesn't slow down. Today, we're going to go into the nervous system in a way that is tangible and applicable to you, because chronic stress is not a personal failure, it's a nervous system pattern. In this masterclass, you'll learn simple, practical tools to help you and your body feel safe, grounded, and calm in everyday life. A disclaimer though, this is not medical or clinical advice, rather is intended for educational purposes only. Before we get started, I believe it's important to know who you're learning from. So a little bit about me. My name is Jocelyn Birkhimer. I'm an educator, a coach, and consultant, and my path has been to support ambitious, heart-centered people that have a desire to serve the world in some way, to serve and be well while living joy-filled lives. Since a very young age, I've had this deep feeling, this calling, if you will, to help people to thrive. And I've always loved to do that. And right now, I'm a service provider myself. I come from a background in education and behavioral therapy, supporting mostly students and families with unique needs. And over the past 10 years, I created my own business. I'm a multiple business owner now. I'm also a mom of two. And I personally am a person that has forged my own path, focusing on serving well because of my own challenges. For me, honoring my path of service, I had to learn how to navigate health challenges, chronic pain, stress, anxiety, depression, you name it. So everything that I'm teaching you here today are things that I've personally learned and have used on my own personal path, as well as things that I've learned professionally and now use in my everyday practice as well, working with other people, mostly service providers that are out there doing amazing things in the world that, like me, needed those tools to be able to learn to stay present and grounded and calm so you could be of that highest service to themselves and then be in the world of service as well. So everything I'm sharing with you here today, again, are things that I've learned. I've added my own toolbox. They're in the toolbox that I use to share with other people that help to live a joy-filled life, that help you to feel energized while you're doing whatever you're here to do. You know, whether you're in the service world or not, that doesn't matter. These are things that all humans need. So what I will be sharing with you here comes from my background that I've pieced together over the years to serve people in my own unique way. Some of these things come from neuro-linguistic programming, the study of NLP, which is a lot about the unconscious mind, the brain, the body, how to really support your body and having what you need to succeed. These also might come from behavioral therapy and executive functioning, the higher level skills that our mind has that we need to perform well. I also have a background in energy work and holistic wellness. You might hear a little bit of that here. I mentioned I'm an educator. I also teach yoga, breath work, and release work. And I'll share from time to time too some of the stories from my own personal experience healing chronic pain, burnout, anxiety, overwhelm, depression, and complex PTSD while serving my mission of helping other people and holding ambitious roles in the world too. So everything I share with you here today, I know it comes from experience. I hope you know that, and is evidence-based as well. So let's get started. The problem that we're here to address today isn't that you're weak, isn't that you're broken, or that you're bad at handling stress. The problem is that your nervous system is stuck in protection mode. When the nervous system believes that there's an ongoing threat, it prioritizes survival over everything else. It prioritizes it over rest, over focus, over emotional regulation, over connection, and over healing and higher levels of functioning. So everything goes out the window. Mind just focuses on survival, right? This is not conscious. This is unconscious, meaning it's automatic. It's something that our mind and body just naturally do. Part of the unconscious mind's job is to keep you alive, right? So it does what it needs. We adapt. It's one of the amazing things about humans is we just produce behaviors, we adapt to survive. And from time to time, we can get stuck in that survival mode, right? So that's what we're here to talk about. Because when the nervous system stays in survival mode, even safe moments can feel urgent and even induce stressful states. I had a client the other day tell me she was washing dishes like she was running from a bear. I was like, that's an exact example of what can happen when we get stuck in that state. We take that stress into things that don't need it. And that's not fun, right? It takes energy. It's draining. This turns into everyday stress and into constant overwhelm, which I think we all can agree is not fun, nor necessary, nor ideal, right? So nervous system dysregulation, let's name it. I think to name it is to claim it, right? So things that you might notice or see or feel that tell you that your nervous system is dysregulated, AKA in that survival state and stuck. Things like feeling tired but wired, that feeling tired, like I want to go to bed, but I actually can't fall asleep. Like your mind's just going, the monkey mind chatter, those types of things. Overthinking simple decisions, things that maybe at some point in your life you're like, that was easy. Why can't I do that now? I'm really giving too much thought to this. Overthinking, feeling stuck, not able to make a decision fatigue. Those are all examples as well. Feeling stuck and or burnt out. This was one that I experienced often when I was living in this state. Constant burnout. I was getting sick a lot too. My nervous system, my body was just shutting down. It was in that state. Reacting more strongly than you want to. I think of this as feeling charged. Like, okay, yes, some things do warrant emotion, right? You might feel upset or angry if somebody does something that is upsetting. And sometimes we have the over amount of charged reaction, feeling overly, like you're overly exerting energy towards that situation. That's what we're talking about. So you're reacting more strongly than you want to. Maybe you feel hypersensitive. Maybe you're getting triggered easily. Those are clues also that the nervous system is dysregulated. Having difficulty resting even when there's time. So even if you're like, I have nothing to do, but I can't sit still, feeling like that, like I have to be doing something all the time, that's also a clue. Having brain fog or scattered focus. I struggled with this for a long time too. Brain fog was a constant thing in my life prior to me learning these things and doing this work on myself. I always felt like there was just this looming fog, or like I had to be doing all these things. My brain had a hard time focusing, which was really challenging. Another is a sense of always needing to stay on. Again, like you can't rest, you can't turn off, you're waiting for something to happen, maybe waiting for the shoe to drop. That's one I hear often, feeling like you're just in that sensing threat mode. Your mind's just stuck there. And also feeling calm only when everything is under control, which again, sometimes people can't access. Sometimes the mind stays in that loop, it's feeling dysregulated. Sometimes calm is conditional. It's not something you just access all the time, but rather if everything's done, everything's under control, then I can relax. That's also a clue, which is sometimes a subtle one. But again, these are all clues of nervous system dysregulation. Things that mean your nervous system is not operating at full capacity. It is not in that state that you need to be able to thrive in your life. It's not where joy comes from, right? These are those states where nervous system dysregulated means it's taking extra energy. You're in that survival mode. So I share this with you because one, these are not personality traits. They're nervous system traits. And two, patterns can change. This is something that I fell in love with early. I thought I was going to be a math teacher. I thought I was going to go down this path of teaching and math and learning and fun. And I learned about behavior, and I started getting into behavioral therapy and linguistics. And I started learning about our mind's ability to change, neuroplasticity, which you may have heard of before. Our mind's ability to literally rewire itself for new neural connections to be born. And I fell in love because I started to notice and the kids that I worked with, the families, later the educational professionals that I worked with and coached, I started to notice that when you worked with the nervous system and the people's goals, whatever that might be, the change they wanted to create, that change happens fast. So I'm here today to share with you that yes, this might be a challenge and it has a solution, and that solution can be faster and easier than you might think. So our goal for today, and goal in general rather, I want you to think about this differently, is the goal is to have a healthy nervous system. That way you can activate when needed. You can activate your fight or flight response. You can disarm it too, and you can enter back into that state of feeling calm and clear and energized and motivated, right? You can settle when a moment passes. You can move between states without getting stuck. Yes, there's a moment where you need to be in high drive, you need to be alert, you're handling the scenario, and then you can return to that state of ease and peace and be in flow, right? So the goal of the nervous system in general is to be healthy, so that you have what you need. You have the energy you need to handle the moments. You can adapt and you can arrive into the moments that you need to. So the goal for today is to help you to understand that, understand why and how and what you can do about it with simple steps to start moving you in that direction. Because regulation does not mean being calm all the time. The goal is not to be calm all the time. It's not possible. And even if it was, it's not ideal, right? Our mind, we need to be able to shift in and out of these states. We need to be able to go into that, okay, I'm going to fight and survive in this moment, and then I'm going to flex and go into rest and digest and find some ease, right? We need these states. We need to be able to shift in and out. So the goal, again, to return to that calm more easily, to shift in and out of the states that you need, not just to survive, but also to thrive. So let's start with, what is the nervous system? The nervous system is one of the most important systems in your body because it acts as the control center and communication network for everything. It allows you to interact with the world around you, and it keeps your internal body functions working smoothly. So it does a lot for you. I mentioned that word unconscious earlier, right? We have a conscious mind, our mind that makes decisions, that has access to our executive functions. We can think and plan and organize, things like that. But we also have the unconscious mind, which is the majority of everything. It's stuff that happens on its own, right? The nervous system and the unconscious mind work together to do things like help you breathe, make sure that your heart is beating, make sure that you're adapting and responding to scenarios to stay alive. So again, the nervous system is a control center. It's one of the most important systems because it acts as that network. It actually starts in the mind and it runs through your whole entire body, right? So the signals, communication flows to and from the body. It's really, truly amazing. It allows you to interact with the world around you and keeps your internal body functions working smoothly without you having to think about it, which is really neat. It also transmits signals. So those neurons carry electrical signals from your brain to your spinal cord. These signals tell all your muscles to move. They let your brain know when something feels hot or cold. They help you to register and respond, right? And they also keep all of your organs running properly. The nervous system also helps different parts of your body work together. So sending the messages through specialized cells, the neurons, the messages travel quickly. So things, kind of think about it like you're moving through wires, right? Those wires running all through your body, allowing your body to respond immediately to changes around you. So information's going in and out from your nervous system all the time, helping you to adapt. Now, there are two main parts of the nervous system. I'll share a big picture, and then we're going to go into details on one of these. So big picture, two pieces for you to know are the CNS and the PNS. The CNS stands for the central nervous system. It's like the command center of the body. So this is where information is processed, controls all the activity in your body, including voluntary, like moving your hand, like I'm moving my hand right now, as well as involuntary, meaning things like breathing, things are just happening, beating your heart, right? Those are happening without you having to think about it. The CNS is made up of two parts, the brain and the spinal cord. So CNS, we'll talk about a little bit more. The PNS, the peripheral nervous system, is made up of all of the nerves that are outside of the CNS, the central nervous system. So these nerves branch out from the brain and the spinal cord and reach all parts of your body like a network of a telephone, the telephone lines rather, connecting every area to the main control center. The PNS connects your body to the CNS and plays a crucial role in sending and receiving signals. So going a little deeper into the CNS. The CNS, as I mentioned before, is made up of the brain and the spinal cord. So the brain, think about this as the control center for the entire body. It processes information, so that comes in through your five senses. It processes your thoughts, your emotions, and it controls body functions like movement. The brain is divided in different regions that handle different tasks, right? So there's some parts of your brain that are in charge of language, others that are memory, movement, you name it. The brain's wonderful. We're not going to go too deep into that today, but we know that it has amazing functions, right? The other is the spinal cord. So CNS, brain, spinal cord. Spinal cord acts as a highway for information traveling between the brain and the body. It sends instructions from the brain to the body and carries sensory information back to the brain. So that information coming through your five senses travels through your neural networks, through the spinal cord, back to the brain to register, and it's like a feedback loop. It also coordinates reflexes, which are fast, automatic responses to stimuli. The PNS, the peripheral nervous system, is how your brain stays in constant conversation with your body. It's made up of all the nerves that branch out from the brain and the spinal cord and extend into your muscles, your organs, and your senses. And its job is to carry information both ways. So from your body to your brain, from your brain back to your body. This is how your internal state shapes how you move, you feel, and you respond to the world. The peripheral nervous system has two parts, the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. The somatic nervous system it controls your voluntary movement and brings sensory information into your awareness. So things like moving your body, feeling or touch, temperature or pain, choosing to breathe slowly or shift your posture. This is one of the easiest access points for calming the nervous system. The system that runs in the background automatically is the autonomic. So automatic, I always associate those things, helps my brain remember. The autonomic nervous system is in charge of those automatic functions like heart rate, breathing, digestion, stress responses. Things just automatically happen in the background, right? You don't control them directly, but you can influence them through the body, right? I can choose to breathe more slowly or more quickly. I can choose to do something about my heart rate or my stress response, right? But automatically I'm gonna have this natural function that comes from the autonomic nervous system. You don't have to control it directly, but you can. And when we work with the body, we communicate directly with the nervous system. So the autonomic systems, what we're gonna go a little bit deeper into. The autonomic, meaning the automatic, has two of its own parts, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So the autonomic nervous system, it manages how your body responds to stress and how it recovers afterwards. So if we want to access states like calm, this is where we want to pay attention. We're going to go a little bit deeper into this, right? So it's always active. It's constantly adjusting based on whether your body senses safety or a threat. The autonomic nervous system is continuously picking up on information to help make those choices on your behalf unconsciously, right? And it has two main states, so the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So we're going to play with these and make sure that you fully understand these two states, because these are going to be the clues. This is going to be your new system for understanding where you are and getting yourself to where you want to be when it comes to flexing that muscle that is calm. Calm is a skill in your mind and your body. All right, so the parasympathetic nervous system, this is a system that prepares your body for action. When it's active, your heart rate increases, your breathing becomes faster or slower, your digestion slows, and your attention narrows to what feels urgent. So say you see a threat. I used to teach a class for kids back in the day, this is maybe 10, 15 years ago. And we would teach kids how to gain control over their nervous system to improve the way that they responded in their lives. So in school, at home, we're really helping them reach success through mindfulness and awareness. And we used to use this example of if you saw a squirrel run across the street and you saw a car heading in that direction of the squirrel, you might have a response, right? That's a sympathetic response. Naturally, you're gonna think about kids too, right? As an adult, maybe you won't be as sensitized to this, but you might be. I do. If I see a car and an animal, right, I'm gonna, what's happening? That's an autonomic response. That's the parasympathetic nervous system. Heart rate increases, breathing might change. Everything goes to that moment to figure out, do I need to act? Do I need to fight, flight, freeze to figure out how to handle this moment? Obviously, same would apply if you were in that scenario, but we're gonna use a squirrel for now, keep it easy. But your attention narrows to what feels urgent and all energy flows to what's towards your attention. So everything is narrowed in, right? So energy is not going towards digestion. It's not going towards thinking about planning or making decisions or anything outside of this exact moment where it might be critical to act, right? So again, this is often called the fight or flight response. You might hear fight, flight, freeze, or fight, flight, fawn. These are all common terms for that and what's happening in the system. This is not bad. It is protective. It is necessary, right? I've been grateful many times that I've had these responses in my life, times where there has been a real threat that I'm grateful that my body took over and acted on my behalf, right? But when it stays too long, everyday life can start to feel overwhelming. It can be hard to settle. So that's why we're talking about this. All right, now the opposite is the parasympathetic nervous system. This system supports rest, recovery, restoration. So I like to think of these as the fight, flight, freeze, and rest and digest, right? Sympathetic, fight, flight, freeze, parasympathetic, rest and digest. This is where your heart rate slows, where breathing starts to deepen, where digestion improves and muscles soften. So that's why rest and digest is also the ideal state for learning. Part of what I focused on in my work with kids back in the day was really helping kids access this state so they could be present and grounded in class. A lot of them had learning challenges and things like ADHD, different variations of autism, things like that, neurodivergence. And we found that when we support people in this state, getting into this parasympathetic state, that the rest happened easier, behavior was easier, learning is easier, because that's really what as humans we're meant to function in by default, is this parasympathetic state. So you might hear it called rest and digest because it means energy is not flowing towards a threat and handling and surviving. It's going to wherever you need to be optimally functioning, right? It's flowing to your mind to help you make decisions and use your executive functions. It's flowing to your digestion so you can make sure that you utilize all the nutrients from the food that you're eating. Your muscles soften, you have availability, right, to your energy and everything else. So Rest and digest we'll use as that term to enter that parasympathetic state. It's also the state where the body repairs, integrates, and feels safe enough to settle. For me now, as a yoga teacher, I've been teaching yoga for 10 years. Something that I utilize often with my students in classes are exercises, both with breathing and movement, to help the body enter the parasympathetic state first, right when we're starting class. So that whole hour, however long we're practicing, is allowing the body to direct all of its energy towards healing, towards repairing, integrating, up-leveling, making new connections, right? That's part of what I love about it. So these are necessary for learning, for creativity, for emotional regulation, for clarity and connection. Easiest path to improve all of those things is through the parasympathetic nervous system, through the parasympathetic state. So we talked earlier about regulation not being just about turning stress off, right? We are going to experience stress. Stress is part of life. We could have a whole nother lesson on that. Eustress, distress, you name it, right? There's stress. And what we need to focus on is helping the body move in and out of stress and back into safety, AKA back into a parasympathetic state. I love to think about this, okay? In a parasympathetic state of mind. That's one of my internal phrases, my reframes, if you will, that I think about personally all the time to make sure that I'm coming back to baseline, that I'm entering this state and remaining there by default as much of the time as possible. So why can't we just relax? You probably hear that often. I'm a parent now. I remember my parents saying that to me. There are definitely times when I want to say that to my own children. But I now that I know what I know now, it's not always possible to just relax, right? And if anything, you probably had that experience where someone said that to you and then you'd be like, you almost get more frustrated, like, what? They're telling me to relax. I can't just relax. Well, why? I want you to know why. Most people don't struggle to relax because they don't know how. They struggle because their nervous system doesn't feel safe enough to let go and to actually allow that parasympathetic state to take over. So when the sympathetic nervous system stays active for too long, the body learns to stay on alert, even when there is no immediate danger. So the body stays tense. It scans for problems. It's looking for things to go wrong. It's keeping the mind busy, and it resists stillness because it thinks it needs to. It's like, I got to be on edge and waiting for something. And if we're conditioned to be that way, it becomes our primary response, our default way of being. That's when it becomes even more challenging to flip it to the other side and just relax, right? So again, not because something is wrong, but because it's trying to protect you. Your system is there for a reason. It thinks it needs to be, becomes unconscious. It's part of your response. So we don't relax because our nervous system hasn't learned or isn't giving it permission. It doesn't feel safe to do so. What this looks like are similar to what we shared earlier, things like feeling tired and unable to rest, wanting to relax, but feeling restless or agitated, feeling calm only when everything's under control, difficulty slowing your thoughts, especially at night, feeling guilt or discomfort when you're just doing straight up nothing. These are not failures of discipline or mindset. They are signals. They are signs of a nervous system that hasn't received a clear signal of safety yet. So the missing piece here is that you can't think your way into relaxation if your body is still preparing for a threat. Relaxation happens after the safety is felt in the body, not before. So safety, that ability to access true safety in the body, is what allows the whole system to shift. And then your mind and your body listens, it follows, right? So we don't relax, not because we're bad at it. We don't relax because our nervous system hasn't learned how to do that, how to enter that state of safety and enter the parasympathetic state. So, okay, you might be like, all right, Jocelyn, well, that's nice, but what do we do about it? So there are a few things that I'm going to share with you, and these are tools that I practice personally, that I use in my practice professionally as well. But I want you to know that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Where we're starting here today, what I'm sharing with you, these are just a few things that are practical tools that you can use, and anything that helps you enter a parasympathetic state that your nervous system feels safe while doing is going to help you. I think it was almost like hijack your stress response and bring it back to your baseline. Right? So anything that feels regulating, that feels like it's a flow-inducing activity for you, or something that you can think and you feel your system come back into a state of ease, those are things that are going to be helpful for you. There's also a way to think about this, and we'll go into this before we end too, where there's handling stress in the moment, and there's also time and a place to work with somebody to go a little bit deeper and understand why your body has held on to these stress responses for so long and help your unconscious mind to repattern. But the tools that I'm sharing with you here, these are the ones that you can use in the moment, so that if you notice yourself in a default stress response, but they're actually not a threat, and you're like, okay, my mind's just wasting energy being in survival right now when I don't really need to be. If anything, I need to come back to now and really be present and focused to get the most, or be able to respond appropriately. That's what these are for. Again, just bringing yourself back into clarity, back into calm, back into focus, so you can keep going. Some of these are actually exercises that I used to use when I was working with students that would feel triggered in class. Oftentimes, kids would have a hard time focusing, and they'd be like, I can't even pay attention to what my teacher's saying right now because my mind's off doing something else, worried about A, B, and C. These are those tools I would share with them that could do in the moment, and or outside of the moment to come back. If they need to take a bathroom break, come back, right? But most of these are pretty quick things that you can do in any moment to bring yourself back into the moment for that purpose of feeling calm, having access to energy, and the things you need. All right, so tool number 1, this is called the physiological sigh or extended exhale. So why this works is because the physiological sigh, or that long breath, your exhale extended, activates the vagus nerve, which tones the nervous system. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system and CO2 release. So we can do this together now. I'll show you first. First thing you do is you take a deep breath in, and then you let your exhale be longer than your breath in. You can literally sigh like that, or you can lengthen your breath. I like to use a ha breath. We practice this in yoga and a lot of the different cultures. I'm trained in some different Hawaiian practices. We use the ha breath a lot there too, and it works for this reason. You do this with the breath in and an open mouth exhale. Again, focusing on an extended exhale. What matters most is that your breath out is longer than the breath in. That gives that vagus nerve time to tone. And if you really want to practice this, I would keep doing this and focus on training your exhales to be even longer. Ideally a 1-to-2 ratio. So if I were breathing into that count of 1, then I'm able to exhale to the count of 2 or 4 and 8, right? So giving your mind and your body that practice. So physiological sigh or extended exhales are wonderful. In the moment, you can use them. A few of these, you'll start to notice a shift. Doing 1 to 4 of these breaths. I've heard once upon a time, I wish I could remember the exact study. There was a study that shared that with 90 seconds, your whole system can shift and change. So for me, by default, I focus on breathing for 90 seconds if I really need to make sure I'm taking my control back, giving it to that parasympathetic state, right? And a few of them or longer. I have definitely been in breath practice for a long time before I noticed amazing benefits too. So if you need to, you can do this for longer periods of time. This is a great practice to do before bed if you're in that state. You're like, I feel like I can't turn my mind off to be able to sleep. Do your ha breaths, breathe with those extended exhales, physiological sighs until you fall asleep. That can be really helpful too. So tool number 1 is a physiological sigh or extended exhale. The second of the 3 that I'll share with you, some people call this orientation and grounding. I love the term grounding. I think it's becoming more popular these days too. It's not so woo-woo. There is a lot of science to grounding. You can look this up, do some Googling. Again, these are just entry points I'm sharing with you. I invite you always to do your own research and find what works for you. But this is a way to help your body get out of that stress response, again, back into the present moment. And it starts by just simply looking around, scanning your environment, noticing where you are. Sometimes our mind goes all the way over there, right? It's like, I'm thinking about next week or next year, whatever it is, or I'm back stuck in the past thinking about A, B, and C. By pausing and looking around you, you're allowing your body to associate to the present moment. And then you can start naming things. Name things that you see in your mind. You don't even have to say it out loud. Okay, I see right here in front of me, there's a lamp. I see a plant. Then you can name things that you hear. I heard a few moments ago my kids walking through the background, and I could hear the truck driving by in front of the house a few minutes ago. You can also name things that you feel. I feel the rings on my fingers. I feel my seat on. I sit on an exercise ball. I can feel the texture of my pants, right? Things that you feel. And then things that you might taste or smell. I can smell the coffee that I have sitting next to me. I can taste a little bit from my sips a few minutes ago. So those 5 senses are wonderful for grounding, focusing on the actual input that's coming in. This is one of those things that your body knows you're safe if you're doing it, because you don't tend to think that way if you're in an actual threat, right? If somebody's coming at you or you see that squirrel run across the street, you're not going to be thinking about those things immediately. But once you notice, okay, I'm safe, I can disarm the threat, these are things that bring your body back to the 5 senses, right? Other things that you can do for orientation and grounding are things like pressing your feet into the floor, pressing your seat into your chair, really focusing on where you are. I love grounding by going outside too, spending time in nature, feeling your feet on the ground, whether you're barefoot or not doesn't even matter, but just really feeling that connection to the ground, to the earth. All of these things teach your body that you're here, you're now, and that you're safe. There's no real threat, and you can turn that alarm off. You can come back to this present moment. You can, if you want, couple these things too. You can stack them, so you could practice grounding and those extended exhales. I do that often. I have a teacher in my Hawaiian studies that says ground, breathe, hakalau, which means to root down, breathe, expand your awareness to the present moment, and it really helps. So that's something that for me, I've anchored, and it's just one of those responses that I can trigger positively for myself at any time because I've practiced it, I've stacked it, and my mind now knows when I think those thoughts, my physiology responds and I come back into this present moment. So again, orientation, grounding, naming things, that the 5 senses that you can feel, hear, see, pressing your feet into the ground, feeling your seat, just naming, feeling present in the moment, and helping your body to see that you are safe, right? Tool number 3 is a gentle somatic release. So somatic release meaning gentle movement. I love somatic release practices. These are things, again, that we could probably go into all kinds of different modules and trainings and lessons on. For today, I want you just to think about the movements that signal safety to your body as windows into that parasympathetic state as well. So things like just placing a hand on your chest and on your belly. Again, you're not going to do that if you're in a real threat, right? Your body can know, like, oh, you're taking that moment, we must be safe. It can be easy to receive and to relax and be in this moment, right? So maybe placing a hand on your chest and your belly. Again, you can couple this with an extended exhale, maybe some grounding, focusing on what's around you. Also, the nervous system responds well to things that are softening in the body. So your jaw, relaxing your neck, relaxing your shoulders down away from your ears. Those little signals of safety and relaxation tell the body, again, there's no real threat, turn off the alarm, enter the parasympathetic state. Come back into that rest and digest. So I do that often. Sometimes I'll catch myself clenching, like, oh, I'm clenching. There's no reason to clench right now. Okay, soften, relax, breathe. We're safe, right? Small shaking or rocking movement. So I mentioned to you earlier, I teach yoga, and often in the beginning of class, I start out with gentle shaking and rocking. So things like laying down on the floor, maybe in your bed, hugging your knees to your chest. I love sacrum circles, just massaging a little in circles, rocking back and forth. The rocking motion signals safety to the nervous system. I've heard some people say it's because of our physiological upbringing as babies. We're rocked. That gentle reminder of safety can ease our system just like babies, which is kind of cool. I'm sure there are other reasons and things you can Google and find explanations for that too, but shaking, rocking, swaying, those are great ways to move the body that allows the flow to return to the nervous system, allows things to come and settle. And also gentle walking or any movement that for you feels safe and nourishing. So for me, I've been practicing yoga for a really long time. Yoga is a safe space for me. That's a place where I can go and my body can enter these safe states of relaxation, of safety. I know that if I'm practicing yoga, I'm safe. I'm breathing, I'm grounding, I'm moving, it's all good. Walking is wonderful. To me, it's one of the most underutilized practices when it comes to just being an optimal human. Walking, obviously helps with things like exercise, our heart rate, etc. But also when you're in a fight or flight response, often you're frozen or you're running, right? That's where the body goes. So if you're walking, it tells the body we're safe. There's no threat. Breathe, relax, ease. So going for a walk can be a really great thing. You've heard probably people say, oh, walk it off. That's legit. There is power to that by virtue of giving your mind and body time to come into the nervous system state. Even the bipedal movements, rhythmic, it helps, right? So gentle walking movement that feels safe and nourishing in your body of any kind is going to be helpful. So I share these with you, these 3 tools, that physiological sigh or extended exhale, orientation and grounding, and gentle somatic release as, again, starting points. But I really want you to encourage yourself to, one, pay attention to what's already working for you. Chances are you probably have some default patterns, some mechanisms that you go to that might actually be really helpful and already working and have positive benefits for you. So check those out. And if so, lean into them. There might be things, again, that you already are doing that if you just focused on it and leaned into it and gave your mind and body full permission to experience them even more, it can do wonders for your life. Whether you increase your time doing those things, increase the frequency, or simply allow yourself to fully surrender to what you're already doing, those can all help to reset the system, right? And you might start to explore now and just pick one thing. What's one thing that you learned here today, or one practice that you were interested in? Maybe you want to play with or explore, or maybe it just got you thinking. You want to go find and do your own research and find your other techniques and ways to regulate your nervous system. Go for it. But whatever you do from here, I hope that you can see this as just an entry point. See this as something that can expand. You can grow with this. You can take it wherever you need it to go, right? For me, I think it's been probably about 15 years now that I've been intentional with this personally and professionally. And I can tell you my life is drastically different. I do not live in those states by default anymore. I can detect them. I have a clear awareness and I have these feelings in my body that tell me, ooh, we could be in a more relaxed state, right? And that's where control comes in. That's where you can flex that calm as a skill, right? So let's talk about applying this to real life. So key takeaway, if you leave with nothing else other than this, I think this is wonderful, time well spent, is that without the nervous system, we wouldn't be able to move, think, feel, function properly, right? It's a system that keeps everything working and together helps us function at our best. We need to nourish it. We need to keep it healthy and help it so that we can feel safe. And that's when you'll be able to access what you need to not only survive, but also to thrive. So the nervous system, it is a wonderful thing. It has your back and it sometimes needs support, right? And when we can exercise that and keep it healthy, that's when we thrive. It starts with awareness and then choices. Those are choices that you have. I like to think about the unconscious mind and the conscious mind as the captain of the ship analogy is one of my favorites. Unconsciously, your body is going to do what it needs to keep you safe, to keep you thriving. But the unconscious mind does well with orders from the conscious mind. Think of it like the captain of the ship, right? Captain of the ship, your captain is pointing the way. We're going here. Here's how we're going to get there. This is the goal, right? It gives orders to the unconscious mind, which are the crew members. The crew members say, aye, aye, captain, we got this. Let's do it. Right? That's the way our mind and body function unconsciously. So when you have your captain start to pick up on these things and start to notice, wow, I'm in a really amazing state right now. This is great. Highlight that. That reinforces your mind, your body, your crew members and says, yes, more of this. And when you start to draw your awareness to, oh, this is interesting, or wow, that's weird. Why am I so stressed when I'm just doing dishes, right? Or whatever it is, that's when you can start to say, okay, now what do I want to do about it? Okay, well, I'm going to take some breaths. I'm going to remind myself where I am, that I'm safe, that it's all good. We got this. We can let that go. The captain of the ship gives that direction through awareness and choice to the crew members, your unconscious mind, all parts of you that unconsciously, autonomically are just functioning in the background to return to states of ease, to flex that calm as a skill, and to enter more empowered states where energy and motivation, all kinds of amazing things are available, right? So again, it starts with awareness and small choices, one thing at a time. Take those steps. Your mind will repattern, your behaviors will follow. And before you know it, you're going to be living in these states by default, in these parasympathetic, ideal, rest and digest, flow states, right? Which is really wonderful. I also want to leave you with, if you notice anything specific in your mind and your body, specific thoughts, memories, traumas, pains, those can be dysregulating. And if you're noticing patterns, this is where I really would invite you to talk to a professional. Seek out support and or consult with your medical provider, because sometimes there are things that happen unconsciously that keep us stuck, almost like in a loop. And we don't have time to go into all of that today, but there are sometimes ways that you might need to go a little bit deeper with supporting your mind and your body and processing and reprogramming. Again, there are wonderful people out there. If you ever need resources, feel free to let me know. I'm happy to point you in the right direction. All right. Other than that, I thank you so much for letting me be here with you today and for listening. I really hope that these tools and all of what you've heard here just enters you unconsciously, so you can start to pick up on these things and see them in your life when you are meant to, how you're meant to, and help you to become aware of when you might need to shift the gears in your day-to-day life, right? I like to think of our minds and bodies like cars. We need to shift in and out of different gears to coast and to move and go faster and slower, and we're meant to, right? So I hope that this helps you, so that in the future, in your day-to-day life, you might be able to activate and use one of these practices before responding to a hard email. Maybe if you woke up anxious or have a hard time falling asleep, or if you feel overstimulated. Sometimes kids, work, being in crowds, you name it, those things can be a lot for our system, but it doesn't have to be. We can come back into that state of ease, right? I hope that these things help you, so that if something comes up and it takes you out of focus, feels like it's disconnecting you from yourself, or feels like whatever it might feel like, that you can use this awareness to come back to yourself, to come back to calm, to come back to regulation, and to allow that flow to be in your life. So I want you to leave with that today. And I also want you to think of this as, this isn't necessarily self-care. Yes, I love self-care. If you follow me or hear anything else I talk about, I'm sure you'll hear me talk about self-care, but these aren't just self-care rituals. This is nervous system hygiene. These are critical for optimal functioning, right? So these are part of day-to-day life, and they can exist in any moment. So with that, thank you again for being here, and be well.